More than 60 films from 15 countries and 22 world premieres. That's only part of what's on offer at this year's Toronto Black Film Festival, the largest Black History Month cultural event in Canada. Now in its 14th year, the festival highlights Black artists from Canada and around the world, from industry veterans to first-time filmmakers. We're gonna look at how it got its start, how it's evolved, and the cultural change it's making. Now, to make change, you need to be able to imagine something different, a different future, a different world, one that can help us understand the one we are living in right now. As the Earth Dreams is a new anthology showcasing work from 10 Black Canadian writers. We get insight on why speculative fiction can be such a powerful place to explore joy, fear, and new Black futures. Welcome to The Rundown. My True Love Skin is a documentary that looks at the diverse experiences of Black women in Canada, and it's just one of the films that will be hitting the big screen at this year's Toronto Black Film Festival. Andrea Est is the head coordinator of the Toronto Black Film Festival, and Yemi Shanuga is the writer and director of My True Love's Skin, which is premiering on February 13th, 2026. Hello to both of you. How are you doing?
Great, thank you.
Nice to have you guys in studio. Let's start with you, Andrea. Give us the origin story here. What is the Toronto Black Film Festival and why was it created?
So the Toronto Black Film Festival was created, Fabienne Collas started the Montreal International Black Film Festival, and that's where everything just took off. So Fabienne, as you know, was a celebrated actress in Haiti. She arrived to Montreal and fell in love with it, decided to stay, and wanted to see how successful she could be in Montreal. And what she encountered was, refusal of no castings, refusal after refusal, which became an issue for her. And so she decided one day, I'm gonna bring a Haitian film where I'm the lead actress in so they could see me work. And so she did, and no one would play it. So this led her to want to create her own festival. So it started off with the Haitian Film Festival and morphed into the Montreal International Black Film Festival, celebrated 21 years, and Toronto was then created. Fabienne felt it was very important to have a platform so that Black industry creators, filmmakers could showcase their work and give a voice to these, to these filmmakers who wouldn't be heard or seen otherwise on mainstream cinema. So Toronto is the biggest city in Canada as far as diversity, different cultures, especially the Black community is very large here. It's one of the largest, I believe. And so it was important for us to have a platform here in order to be able to bring that to the Black filmmakers here in Toronto.
Now it's 14 years.
14 years.
Throughout the evolution of this festival, have you noticed a shift towards diversity in Canadian films overall, if we look at the industry as a total?
Well, yes. So, with the murder of George Floyd, that opened a lot of eyes, a lot of Black Lives Matter movement. What it did is it really made people aware, the decision makers, funders, across all sectors, not just in film and television, but that there was a lack of representation on screen. And behind the camera, in front of the camera, Black stories weren't told by us. Even hair and makeup, lighting was a huge issue as well for for artists, actors. And so that really opened the doors. Programs were developed in order to, address these issues. There was programs, funding streams were opened. And so even like something like the Black Screen Office was created in order to give a voice to the voiceless. But now, there was a wave. So I've spoken with a lot of filmmakers and they were like, we're riding that wave right now. But now the wave seems to be taking it downhill. Okay. And so there's still much work to do. We can't just, we still need to work towards keeping it going up in the right direction.
Yemi, before we get into your film, I want to, as someone who's seen your resume, you have been on stages, you have been performing, you've done a lot. I want you to pick up on Andrea's in terms of what you've seen in terms of film, not just perhaps in film, but what we've seen in terms of Black Canadian content. Are we seeing more people in front of the cameras? and behind the cameras?
I think we are seeing more people in front of the cameras, but it's one of those things that it's self-produced, self-made,
Right.
and self-actualized. So it's not really something that's coming with the support that other communities may be getting. So as much as we love to say like the numbers are growing, but the numbers are growing because people are resilient, people are determined to have their stories told, determined to be like the face of a generation, to make that representation present for the people that don't have it. And I think that's the uptick we're seeing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, let's talk about a little bit about your film. This is your directorial debut here. Where did you draw inspiration from?
So I have lived in so many different places. I went to school in Scotland, lived in London, England. I've lived in America and in Canada. And the reason for this film was throughout the globe, being a Black person, it's such a distinct thing where you're from. But in Canada, it felt that our voices were even more muted. We're even more set aside, and our stories weren't really being listened to. And there was like something almost insidious about people saying, well, it's not as bad in Canada. And that just kept coming up again and again and again. And I really wanted to show that, well, if you're not going to take the time to listen to our stories, how would you know if it's bad or not? And like to put like a blank kind of cover over that felt really wrong to me. And so I really wanted to take this opportunity to share our stories, and knowing that it would be in a place like the Toronto Black Film Festival where Black people would come and see ourselves and get to relate and get to hear our stories, but also find connection. That was the inspiration for this film.
All right, with that being said, let's have a look at your film.
To me, being a Black woman really has this sense of like almost like effortlessly cool. I think we come in so many different shades, so many different forms, and I love the diversity that brings. I mean, there's this idea of like just creativity. You see a Black girl's hair, I'm always like, I don't understand how we always coming up with something new, something so innovative. And to me, that's what resilience is actually about. How can I see something in front of me and be creative about the way I'm going to approach this? And I think so often you're going through struggle or there's challenges that you might have. I think that's the beauty that a Black woman brings. It's like, yes, there's something in front of me. There's a creativity that we bring to how are we going to overcome this? How are we going to move through this?
Now, from what I understand, she's also at the Olympics right now.
Yeah, Felicia's at the Olympics right now.
Competing for us, making us proud. What are you hoping to leave audiences with watching that?
The biggest thing I really want people to take away with, especially Black people, is that you can find other Black people. Like, we're here. Life is so grand, but don't be afraid to like follow your dreams. That's like one of the best things about what we do as artists, is to make something that's like intangible tangible, to make that possibility a reality. And so with this film, I really want people to see it and think, wow, I have people I can connect with. If I want to do this, I'm able to contact this person and maybe take the next step forward to it. And if somebody else can, maybe I can too. And not just me, like 9 other people. Come along with me, Mom and Dad, let's do it.
Andrea, let's build on that. When we talk about resilience as well, why is it important to highlight underrepresented voices?
For a lot of the reasons Yemi just mentioned, for many years, we didn't see people who looked like us on screen. Black stories seemed to be focused on, the struggle, we come from ghettos. It was always the same narrative. And so now I find that that's changed. It's changing slowly, but surely, because we have other stories to tell. And I think these stories, whether it's, Afrofuturism, whether it's something that has to do with, because we all come from different backgrounds, different lifestyles. And so those stories are just as pertinent as the struggle, and it's nice to see films that are focusing on the celebrations of Black people, the accomplishments of Black people, And so it's very important to see Black people on screen. I mean, yeah.
I am curious, film. Why do you think film is the medium for stories like this?
Because it's visual and we connect with, I'm very visual, and I believe a lot of people are, most of the population probably is, and through watching something, it affects you, you get connected to it. And I think it's a genre and a medium to really, how could I put in pictures, put in a language and pictures, and to actually see that, it really resonates with people deep down, and not just the Black community, but all people. So we do find connections through film, especially.
Yeah, I mean, you've
Yeah.
been on both sides of this camera now with your
Yeah.
directorial debut, but why film?
For me, in particular, I think digital media is the fastest way to get your word across. Everyone has access to a phone, and people can watch your message through that. Someone in Nigeria can watch it
Yeah, it's true.
today, not even
Right.
today, in 3 seconds.
Right.
You know, so that is why the medium of film. And there is something about what we see as fiction is now becoming fact, right? The stories we tell are what people are perceiving to be true. So in that sense of it, to be a filmmaker, to be a storyteller is actually a form of education now, you know?
Andrea, what can viewers at home expect in the coming days? You got a very jam-packed couple days to let us know.
Fantastic lineup of films. We kick off tonight with Of Mud and Blood, a very strong documentary feature. And then following that, we've got, on Friday, we have Being Black in Canada, which is where we'll be able to see Yemi's films, and all the 2025 cohorts are premiering their world premieres. So that's also a really great event, plus other films going on at the Carlton Cinema. And we have We Want the Funk. Mr. Stanley Nelson is in the house.
yes.
He'll be here tonight too, receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award. And we have a Kids Day on Monday, Kids Festival, Kids Film Festival. So everything for everyone. I think there's a little bit of everything for everyone.
All right. Well, really appreciate it. Wish you all the best
Thank you.
on the festival. Andrea, Yemi, all the best to you as well.
Thank you so much.
Remember, play both sides on film. And I know you probably loved being behind the camera as well.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you so much, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much.
A woman reckons with the loss of recent memories when she comes across a familiar face. A spirit caster appraises objects at an antique shop by communing with the dead. In Saskatoon, 2 teens learn how to fly a magic carpet. Those are some of the characters we meet in a new anthology. Therese Mason-Pierre, editor of the short fiction anthology As the Earth Dreams, Black Canadian Speculative Stories, and Chinelo Onwalu, whose story The Hole in the Middle of the World appears in that anthology. And they both join us in studio. How are you guys both doing?
Good, thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Therese, I'm going to start with you. Before we dig into sort of the storytelling, what is speculative fiction?
So speculative fiction is an umbrella term that describes a wide variety of genres, specifically fantasy, science fiction, apocalypse, horror, superhero, supernatural, anything like that, all falls under the speculative fiction umbrella.
All right. Now, Chinelo, tell us a little bit about the historical connection between speculative fiction and Black authors.
I believe that Black authors have been telling speculative stories for as long as storytelling has been around. It's intricately entwined with the understanding of our own liberation, seeing ourselves in the future, especially in future scenarios in which we just don't exist. So the question happens, what happened to us? And so it is very important, and I think there's been a long history of Black storytelling that is speculative, from our folk tales to our understandings of the future and futurisms. It's very much entwined, yeah.
Therese, same thing.
No,
Yeah.
I agree, yeah.
In terms of what it requires, what it challenges readers to do, what does speculative fiction do when we talk about perhaps stereotypes? When someone's reading some of the work in this anthology, what are you hoping that it challenges them to do?
Yeah, so speculative fiction, I feel, is really important for sort of breaking down barriers and widening readers' imaginations, not only of what their future could look like or the future of the planet we live on, but also different perspectives regarding the people around them and what their lives would be like in the future.
Now, you had the challenge and honor of putting together this anthology. And I was saying, help us understand what considerations did you have to take on to build the team of authors to put this together?
Yeah, so I'm really, really grateful to have the opportunity to put together a collection like this, especially with all of these really amazing and talented writers. The title of the anthology is As the Earth Dreams. So I was thinking about dreaming. I was thinking about reflection and deepening perspectives, not only in Canada, but also for Black people as individuals and their relationship with their communities and their world. In regards to finding these authors. A lot of them are writers that I admire, whose work I love. So it was really a great a privilege for me to work with them, and their stories are beautiful.
Tell me a little bit about sort of their experiences as well, because there was a full range in terms of the stories of immigration, their stories of sexism, classism. Also, if you can help speak to, sometimes there's a broad stroke that the Black community is a monolith. Sometimes we've had conversations here in this studio about the Black experience. In your title, it's Black Canadian, and sometimes we say African American, and we just call it just one. In terms of the contributions here, why did you make sure that there was a nice, diverse cast of kind of storytelling?
Yeah. When I thought about what I wanted to showcase in the stories, in terms of the direction I gave the authors, I wanted to keep it as broad as possible. I don't sort of deign to tell them what parts of themselves they should write about, or what parts of their stories I think are publishable, or ones that readers would find most engaging. I wanted to keep it honest and authentic. And in terms of the diversity we see in themes in the anthology, we've got everything from, as you mentioned, immigration, classism, sexism, but also food, also memory, childhood and motherhood, as well as joy and friendship. And all of these things kind of encompass dreaming and space for reinvention and reimagination.
All right, Chinelo, I'm going to read a short passage from your story, The Hole in the Middle of the World. It reads, "This is not the first time I've been asked about my birth status. The rich white folk of this country can't seem to birth babies on their own anymore. So it looks like they've kicked up their search for surrogates among us refugees and immigrants. There's really nothing they won't buy, is there? These days, though, the question snags at something in me, a hole, a vast abyssal emptiness at the core of my being. I want to cry, but I don't know why. I just can't shake the feeling that I've forgotten something deeply important." What inspired this beautiful piece?
So I'm a mother, and my child is 5 years old this year. And just before her birth, I was dealing with some health complications that affected my memory. And essentially, I went through a process where I literally forgot my own name.
Oh, wow.
I had to check my bracelet to remember. And when Therese asked me to be part of this project, one of the things that I'd been really wrestling with and wondering around was, what does motherhood leave inside you? What does it change fundamentally when you go through it? Because it felt like, outside, I'd given birth, I looked different, I felt different, but I wondered if all these changes were to be taken away, what part would still be left of me? Or what part would still be left of that experience? And so I was also dealing with having moved into this country, a couple of years before that. And so it was just this big swirl of themes around memory and motherhood and what it meant to belong to yourself and to someone else, especially when all these other, bonds had been broken, in the move to a new place.
What's interesting about that is, for people who may not know that personal story, when I was reading it, I kind of had this, kind of gave me an eerie feeling of where we were going into the future as well. What message did you hope to leave with readers reading that? Because we don't talk about the personal story in that, but we allow our readers to kind of take it and go with that journey. But what's the message that you wanted to leave them with?
I think it's a message of hope in the end, especially because part of the, and not to spoil the story, but part of the resolution involves like truth and reconciliation. And I've been watching that process happen in this country, and there's so many aspects of it that I think are so rich and so vitally important to what it means to move forward in the world, especially in the times that we're living in right now. And so if we're taking these kinds of things seriously, if we're taking these principles of reconciliation and truth-telling, that is the hope that is embedded both in the story and in the process itself. And so I think the ultimate thing I wanted to leave people with is, even if you lose everything, even if everything is stolen from you, even if your own memories are taken away as, and exploited, the only way to come back to yourself is through a process of healing and reconciliation. And I think that's in the story.
Beautiful stuff. Therese, not only did you have the challenge of putting authors together, you also wrote something as well. I'm going to read a small snippet from A Fair Assessment. Spirits didn't need to breathe, of course, but I could hear her instinctive breaths as she tried to calm herself. I began my spiel. My name is Sarah Baptiste, I said. I'm a spirit caster. Don't worry, I won't keep you very long. I know this is uncomfortable for you. Spirits often got cold in our realm and tired easily, or so I had been told. I gestured around me with my free hand. This is Miss Zinnia's Antiques and Vintage Shop in Toronto, Canada. Can you tell me your name? The woman, girl, finished her visual sweep of the room. I watched her gaze settle on many of the large items of Miss Zinnia's haul, some likely recognizable. My name is Ruth, she finally said. As we talked about, speculative fiction challenges our typical way of thinking. What idea were you hoping to challenge with this story?
I wanted to write a story about ancestry and family, and the ways in which we could connect with the people who came before us, even if it was something that we had lost, or maybe stories hadn't been passed down. So I was interested in writing a character who got that opportunity, and whose kind of job it was to speak with spirits and figure out the meaning and the value of the objects they left behind. And I feel like for this story, for me, personally at least, it kind of reflected some of the challenges that I had faced when I wanted to think about and explore my own ancestry. Like my family's from the Caribbean. They moved to Canada in the 90s, and part of my parents' journey had been, we're Canadian now, and that's kind of what we're doing.
We don't talk about
It's not that we don't talk about it, it's more like that was the past, and now we're looking forward to the future. So I never got really the opportunity to learn as much as I would have liked. So the story that I wrote for the anthology was at least for me, a way to try to reconcile with that and try to make myself brave enough to do that kind of exploration myself.
Okay. Through showcasing the work of Black Canadian authors and highlighting the themes that affect marginalized communities, what do you hope aspiring Black writers in Ontario take away from this conversation? Janelle?
I think I would like them to remember that imagination is a vital tool of resistance. We often think of fighting against, oppression as something that you do by, protesting and speaking out, and that's incredibly important.
Right.
But before you do any of that, you have to imagine yourself to be free. And that's something that when our ancestors were enslaved and in these conditions of incredible degradation, the only thing they had was their imaginations. The idea that somehow, somewhere, some way, our children, our children's children will be free. And so imagination being this incredible resource that we have, I really want writers to remember that and not to feel that they are powerless because all they have is the pen.
Therese?
Yeah, I'm going to echo a lot of what Chinelo has mentioned, but also to let people know, particularly Black writers, young Black writers, that their stories matter. And in times like these, people often ask, like, well, what is the point of writing? What is the point of telling stories when, we could be out, in the streets holding placards and things like that? But stories are the tools with which we not only express ourselves, but consider and imagine a better future.
We're going to have to leave it there. Chinelo, Therese, thank you so much. Beautiful writing. It was fantastic stuff. Thank you for your insights as well.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
One thing before we go, we've been settling into our new set, and we wanted to give you one final look behind the scenes at what went into making our new home and how we bring stories like these to air. Hey, it's another busy day on The Rundown. As you know, our studio is taking shape, but if I'm looking at my watch, yeah, we are late. There is a pitch meeting happening. This is where our producers present their ideas for possible new episodes. Come with me.
So I think we could do a really good deep dive on what is affordable housing.
There's no real understanding of what causes food allergies.
There are reasons why we do things this way, but is it actually serving our democracy?
Hi, my name is Colin Ellis. I'm lead producer for The Rundown. If you were to be watching our pitch meeting, you would see a group of producers sitting at a big table.
So a lot of people don't really know exactly the long history of the Hudson's Bay Corporation.
A pitch meeting can be pretty fun. It can be pretty exciting, actually.
My name is Carla Luqueta. I'm a digital media producer. It can be a little nerve-wracking for a producer. All the important people are in the room. So you've got the executive producer, you've got a showrunner, you've got senior journalists, you have the host.
You know, is that what Canada wants to do?
There's a difference between housing that's affordable and affordable housing.
When you know you've got a good story is when people start talking.
The producers are sort of the brain. They're also the heart of what we do here.
All right, editorial meeting done for the week. Just got word that the carpentry team is downstairs in the loading dock. Been building some of the bigger set pieces off-site. Things are getting really busy.
So we're on install day 5 of the Rundown set, and it's getting exciting. It's time to move in some furniture. And we are picking up our table for our panel interviews. A round table made of solid maple. 84 inches, 7 feet. Just let me know with the dolly when to pull. Yeah. Doing my part. We've got a week of building, putting things together, hanging curtains, doing some paintwork. Making sure that we've got our big pieces in play. It's my ball. Like, this is my prom. I love it. It's so exciting. When all of those pieces come together, it is, you know, it's all the work you've been planning. And yeah, it feels like the big reveal to an audience. And then as of Monday, we bring in our lighting designer. We start to look at furniture in place, and he starts to hang lights. And that is magic.
So this is rehearsal day. We've got lights up, so now we're gonna just start setting levels. Then we bring in cameras, and we see what it looks like on camera and do a lot of tweaking.
They're gonna be over Jan's
So while we're doing that,
You can do as much as you want with the set, but it wasn't until brilliant people stepped in with the lights that made it really, really shine and gave it so much atmosphere. And we'll be able to put our host in and start to see where the show is coming and taking shape.
it's crazy to think that this was just an idea a few months ago. So much blood, sweat, and tears into this, and doesn't it look fantastic? This is our home. Welcome to The Rundown. I'm Jayan. Thanks for spending some time with us on The Rundown. We want this show to reflect you and what you care about. So, what should we cover next? Let us know at tvo.org/rundownfeedback or drop a comment on YouTube. Until then, we'll see you tomorrow.